You know what they say, don't teach your father how to make babies.
I can tell you made from love, I can tell you good karma, I can tell you good drama. You could be anything a man could want from. Teach what you know, reap what you sow, eat what you grow, good farm on the.
If there's one thing that's remained consistent throughout the 21-year journey of the Octavia in India, it is the simply clever features. The notchback rear, for instance, lends a nice styling profile as well as a massive boot. And throughout the generations, that theme has continued. The build quality, the styling, the ride, the handling, the desirability, the engines, the performance. Over generation after generation, the Octavia has only grown in every conceivable aspect. And today, we are celebrating 1 lakh Octavia sold in India, making it the largest selling European C-Carry nameplate in the country. We start, of course, with where the story started, with the Gen 1 launched in 2001. 4 years later, we went bananas when we got the very first RS. And then came the rarest of them all, the Gen 1 Combi RS. This is a unicorn, one that you will rarely find anywhere. And we have not one, but we have 2 unicorns. This is the Gen 1 Combi L&K with the diesel engine. In mid-2006 came the Gen 2 Octavia, which in India was christened the Laura. 5 years later, to cater to the exhausting clamors from enthusiasts, came this, the Laura RS. In 2013 came the Gen 3 Octavia. Now this version came with a range of engines, range of transmissions, even different suspension setups for the top end variant. Where's the RS screamed all the enthusiasts, and so 4 years later came the RS 230. Brilliant pricing, brilliant performance. It flew out of showrooms before anybody could even say RS. And because the RS 230 flew out of showrooms, 3 years later came the RS 245. Again, limited numbers and a proper Enthu cutlet. And finally, we have the Gen 4 Octavia, building on the 21-year legacy of the Octavia in India. Still the standard bearer amongst D-segment sedans and the last holdout against the assault of the SUVs.
Bring it back like that.
The Octavia was launched in 2001, but the first cars came to India in 2000 for testing and homologation, and that's the first time we got our hands on this car. I had just finished off with my internship at Overdrive, my very first job, and together with my assistant editor, we drove down to Aurangabad to get our first taste of a premium European car. These interiors, they felt 10 years ahead of all the Japanese cars that we were used to back then. The fit finish, the quality, the design of the dash, height adjustable seats, an armrest that you could move, airbags. Our expectations were here, and the Octavia moved it 1, 2, 3, 4 notches. That's how far ahead of the game it was. And it introduced us to the bank-like door shut. 2 decades is a long time. In fact, the only thing that has not changed is the Skoda badge. Otherwise, everything is new inside the cabin of the 4th generation Octavia. Yet, it does feel like an Octavia. The quality, definitely an Octavia. The seating position, the seat goes down nice and low. The steering, it adjusts for reach as well as rake. Again, it feels like an Octavia. Then there's a sense of safety, of luxury. The equipment, it moves the game on in this class like every successive generation of the Octavia always has. And also in terms of technology, this moves the game on. The 2-liter TSI engine, it is the benchmark for the thrill of driving. And it is a timely reminder that it was the Octavia all those years ago that introduced India to the turbo petrol engine. In the early 2000s, a sporty car meant a few stickers on the side of the car. If you were lucky, you got a boot spoiler, and that was it. Engine upgrades, there was no chance in hell. And then came the Octi RS. Now, first, the obvious styling enhancements. You got these loud colors like this yellow. Our long-term car back then, it was red in color. It was lowered by 15 mm. It had this aggressive front spoiler. It had a spoiler tucked onto the boot. It also had interior upgrades like the steering wheel. It was not there in the regular car. It had aluminum pedals. So it did look sporty, and man, it went like stink. Even today, it really moves. And these cars, they are bought by enthusiasts. In fact, an RS, it's hard to find one which hasn't been worked on. So going by the standards of its time, this car was brilliant. 150 horsepower, a turbocharged petrol engine. These are things that we had never experienced back then. And this rewrote the rules of the performance car game. Even today, you put your foot down and it is fast. Even by today's standards, this is fast. The very first RS, it rewrote the rules and it continues to set the benchmark for sportiness. The way the RS flung itself at the horizon, okay, sure, by today's standards, there is a bit of turbo lag, but once it comes on boost, woof, it really flings itself at the horizon. But hang on, there's something else I need to show you. The Combi RS, the unicorn. Skoda, they made bold moves, bringing the estate, the station wagon shape of the Octavia to India. And they gave it two engines, the diesel in the Combi L&K and the 1.8 turbo in the Combi RS. My God, this car, it is so desirable. You can put your dogs, you can put the wife, you can put two kids, and you can take this car to the racetrack and do hot laps in it. Finding an RS today that isn't worked upon is near impossible. Only enthusiasts buy RSs, and they really do work on their RSs to try to extract even more horsepower out of it. This example though, it is mint. It is absolutely clean, original, just as it rolled out of the factory. Of course, a different stereo system, obviously that has to be updated, different wheels, but otherwise this is absolutely clean, mint, and it's such a pleasure to drive. It takes me back to the day, I think must be 18 years ago, that I first drove it, and we were floored. And it's just a testament to Skoda's build quality also, because this car, it feels tight. It doesn't feel loose, it's not rattling. It's brilliant. So is the estate any different to drive from the regular Notchback RS? Not really. Of course, it was a little heavier, so the suspension setting was a little different. But apart from that, you drive it and both drive identically. It all depends on how well each car has been maintained. And look at the way this engine pulls. Even by today's standards, standards that are 2 decades on from this car, it still feels quick, it still feels enthusiastic, it still feels sporty. And an estate, such a cool body shape. Why don't we buy estates? Why? It was not just petrol. Across powertrain, Skoda, they were ahead of the game. They were amongst the first to introduce turbocharged diesel engines in the country, and in this segment, they were definitely the first with a turbo diesel. This 1.9 TD, remember, 22 years ago, it made 90 bhp of power, 0 to 100 in 13.7 seconds, delivered an overall fuel efficiency of 19 kmpl. So it was fast, it was refined, it was economical, and this really moved the game on for the entire segment, laid the marker. This engine was also available in the Combi, the L&K Combi. Again, another very rare car. Only problem was, Indians, we never really took to the estate body shape. The Gen 1 Octavia had a massive 9-year life cycle, and for the last 4 years, it overlapped with the Gen 2 Octavia, which was christened Laura for India. In 2010, the Gen 1 Octavia was retired, and by then came the facelift on the Laura. Better to look at, better interiors, and of course Skoda continued to push the technological envelope. It got the common rail diesel engine, made it to the twin clutch automatic gearbox, the first time a DSG gearbox arrived in this segment. That powertrain combination was the best seller, but then there also came the 1.8 TSI engine, the first time a turbocharged direct injection petrol engine came in this segment, and that engine sired the RS. If you are watching this video, you are an enthusiast and you definitely know that the Laura RS wasn't a full-blown RS. What it got was slightly stiffer suspension, new bumpers, new alloys, a spoiler and 7 RS badges. But frankly, the regular Laura turbo petrol was so good that yeah, we complained that this wasn't a true RS, but we also had a whale of a time. 160 bhp, manual gearbox, 0 to 100 in 8.4 seconds, top speed of 230 km per hour, and those are stock times. Everybody worked on their cars, tuned their cars because this engine and this platform had tons of go faster parts available for it, and it delivered solid business to tuners. The legend of the RS, it only grew with the Laura RS. In 2013, we launched Evo India magazine, and in 2013, Skoda launched the Gen 3 Octavia. This was based on the MQB platform. It was longer, wider, more wheelbase, and that delivered more space inside the car. The improved platform also gave it better dynamics, better ride, better handling. The engines were also improved, and so was the reliability. I should know because we ran 2 Gen 3 Octavias on long-term test, and both with the 1.8 TSI petrol engine, which was a fantastic motor. But then came this one. You know what this is? This is the RS230 in Nardo Grey. This car, I used every single trick in the book to call it over and over again to the office. First drives, road tests, features, comparison tests, every single thing that I could think of, I called this car back again because this was fantastic to drive. And this continues to be fantastic. In fact, in terms of value for money for a performance car, I don't think anything ever bettered the RS230. No wonder it flew out of the shelves. I don't think even Skoda expected the kind of response that the RS230 got. It just disappeared. It's like it was launched, price was announced, and poof, it was gone. RS230 is the giveaway to the engine that it had. 230 horsepower, that is 227 bhp, a proper 2-litre TSI engine, not a carryover 1.8 TSI engine, so a genuine RS DSG gearbox, 0 to 100 in 6.8 seconds, 250 km per hour top speed, the fastest production Skoda ever sold in India, 17-inch wheels, suspension lowered by 15 mm, stiffened suspension, an electronic diff on the front which activates after 1.5 Gs, so it minimizes inside wheel spin, lets it put down more of its power. And this chassis, one of the finest front wheel drive chassis ever that I have experienced. What an enthusiastic little puppy this car is. So good, so good. Step on it, really moves. You got paddle shifters. It's got brilliant front end bite and traction. In fact, one of the most aggressive front wheel drive setups in terms of handling, and the exhaust also not overpowering, but you can still hear the prop prop farting away in the backdrop. A perfectly judged enthusiast car. Ankur, who owns this car, is a proper enthusiast. He's out there looking at me, squealing his tires. Gotta take it a bit easy. We even did a story when I turned 40 on a midlife crisis and what would you buy on a midlife crisis. So we had the RS230 and the Triumph Street Triple RS. We never actually put out that video. We have a few rushes of that video. We never really put out that video. Silly of us. But that just gives you an idea of the kind of excuses that I came up with so that I could just get my hands on this car and drive it over and over and over again. Demand for the RS230 took everybody, including obviously Skoda, by surprise. The first lot sold out, second lot sold out, and then we had to wait for 3 years until we got another RS, and this was the car, the RS245. Now, as the name suggests, it got a 15 bhp hike in power. So 250 PS, that's 242 bhp, 0 to 100 came down to 6.6 seconds. So the RS245 still remains the fastest production Skoda that has been sold in India. Top speed limited to 250 kilometers per hour. The wheels, they were upgraded from 17 to 18 inches. And of course, it moved. It moved. And this engine, it sounded also more powerful. Like with the 230, the front end grip and bite on this, fantastic. What a front wheel drive chassis. We keep saying no, that rear wheel drive cars are for enthusiasts, but I can tell you that a front wheel drive car, a well sorted front wheel drive car, can be a load of fun. You have to be obviously very precise, kiss the apex, get on the gas, not too much, don't let it understeer. But this doesn't understeer also, because it's got that electronic LSD on front. So it meters out the power as per the grip that is on hand. The steering is precise. Lovely. These RSs, definitely the best front wheel drive chassis that was sold in India. With the very first RS, Skoda introduced us to fast, enthusiastic, precise front wheel drive cars. And with every successive generation of the RS, they just moved the game on.
Am I pushing my luck?
And that brings me to the very latest generation Octavia, launched barely a year ago. More space, more features, more luxury, more equipment, 5 stars in the Euro NCAP crash test rating, 8 airbags. From being the benchmark in the C segment, the Octavia is now the flag bearer in the D segment. And yet, it retains the quintessential Octavia-ness. The styling, for instance, it looks definitely like an Octavia, doesn't it? Yet, it's got better detailing, more jewelry, it looks more expensive. The 2-liter TSI engine is the same engine from the RS, 0 to 100 in 8 seconds flat. This Octavia, it handles really well, yet it feels luxurious, it rides really well, the ground clearance is perfect for Indian roads. This works brilliantly. And the Octavia, it continues to retain the simply clever features. The boot, for instance, it has increased by 10 liters to 600 liters. As they say, the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree.
I can tell you made from love. I can tell you good karma. I can tell you good drama. And you could be anything a man could want. Teach what you know, reap what you sow, eat what you grow. Good farmer. On a regular, I'm getting better and better, huh? Stay in my lane like I'm bowling. I knock them down if you set it up. I'm coming too if you head it up. Press it down, I need better luck. Count it down, I do better down. Hang it to me and I bread it up. I done said enough. All them toxins will ruin y'all. Throw the cat, I throw you the dog. I ain't involved unless you involved. I ain't stopping till you and all. Ain't no overthinking me away. If you scared, girl, then you need to pray. So I just hope you made from love that good karma. I just hope you made from love that good karma. I just hope you made from love that good karma. I just hope you made from love that. Made from love that. They gon' love that.